Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of Barbie, the 2023 movie starring Margot Robbie as a Mattel icon in a meta-existential beach musical that pays homage to Stanley Kubrick, The Matrix, The Wizard of Oz, and of course the history of Mattel that my Barbie fanatic wife Kelly has been catching me up on since one of our first dates was the visit to Epcot to, I guess, recreate the 1994 Barbie's birthday party VHS that she loved as a kid and has made me watch all of. It's Barbie's world, and yes, I'm thinking about dying. So yeah, I'm gonna break down this movie. But please know, SAG-AFTRA has informed us that entertainment journalists like New Rockstars are allowed to cover movies and TV during the strike. I don't care what misinformation other people working for the AMPTP have told you to spread disinformation. We are entertainment journalists and we're allowed to cover this news. We support SAG and the WGA in their strikes so that these artists get what they deserve. And really our goal in our coverage is to celebrate the artistry and how it cannot be replaced by AI. To be clear, we won't be doing any future agreements with the studios to promote their releases the way influencers sometimes do, not until the strike is resolved or we get further guidance. Okay? Cool. Awesome. Let's go. The film opens with a near shot-for-shot homage to Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, the famous Dawn of Man opening sequence, set to the same amazing iconic music of Giorgio Ligeti.
Since the beginning of time, since the first little girl ever existed, there have been dolls.
Director and co-writer Greta Gerwig's attention to detail is incredible. Instead of a dry skull, there's a discarded shoe. Instead of apes picking fleas out of each other's hair, it's girls brushing non-existent hair on the dolls' heads. The narrator of this movie is Helen Mirren, whose majestic voice also narrates every episode of Documentary Now on IFC. All the girls are dressed in drab clothes, waiting for a fashion icon from the heavens. And yeah, there is truth to this opening, because before Barbie arrived in 1959, dolls really were just dolls. Barbie really did represent a profound paradigm shift. And when talking about the old dolls, Helen Mirren says, "The girls who played with them could only ever play at being mothers, which can be fun, at least for a while anyway. Ask her mother." A hint at the mother-daughter themes at the end of this movie, that Barbie's creator, Ruth Handler, named the doll after her daughter, Barbara. The whole thing is really a mother-daughter story, and we're gonna get to some mind-blowing truth at the end of this video. This main girl with blonde hair and glasses seems to be a young Greta Gerwig herself, at least based on this 2002 high school photo where she played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. By the way, The Wizard of Oz comes back throughout this film, and in my ongoing theory that every American movie is trying to be either Citizen Kane or The Wizard of Oz, Barbie is 100% Wizard of Oz. This point of view shot of the giant Barbie shadowed by the sun, the crescent moon behind her, is exactly like Stanley Kubrick's shot of the monolith in 2001, the monolith being the mysterious symbol of technological advancement and its destructive power, an important concept of Christopher Nolan in his films, especially Interstellar, with the TARS robot that I argued in my deep dive is a key to it all. And it's very ironic that this movie and Nolan's Oppenheimer about similar stuff are coming out the same weekend, because they're two great films tackling similar Kubrick concepts just in different ways. But Oppenheimer is Citizen Kane. I'll get to that in my breakdown of Oppenheimer, and I need more time to break down that movie because I saw it after this one. Now, listen closely as this little girl touches Barbie's leg. Yeah, it sounds like they mixed in the hum of a lightsaber from Star Wars there. This black and white striped swimsuit is the very first outfit Barbie wore when she was first released by Mattel in 1959. Now, many of these details I'm talking about were first pointed out by Jessica Clemens, who broke down the final trailer with me. In her earlier breakdowns, she did an amazing job with her research. Jess moved on to The Ringer a few months ago, and I hope she comes back to visit. We did so many Barbie bits in Austin recently, and I love talking Barbie with her. I miss you, Jess. Now, just like Kubrick's ape is inspired to use the bone as a weapon, baby Greta lifts her old doll to smash her tea party in the same exact slow motion imagery, and then flings the doll in the air as it flips and match cuts to the Barbie title. In 2001, it match cut to a satellite, showing mankind's leap into technology. Here, it's the Barbie logo, which Jessica pointed out is the font of the 1975 to 1991 era of the logo. Helen Mirren talks us through the history of Barbie in her various forms. We see a doctor, a lawyer, astronaut, fitness expert, dozens and dozens of different careers. All of these actually specific versions of Barbie that we're seeing over the decades. And we fly down onto Barbie Land, a heart-shaped realm on the coast where the surrounding terrain is drab and sandy. Inside the border, the water is suddenly a brighter shade of blue, clearly plastic. According to this overhead map, Barbie's cul-de-sac is the dot of the eye in Barbie Land. Our Barbie, stereotypical Barbie, lives in her Barbie dream house, inspired by mid-century modernist architecture found in Palm Springs, including the Kaufman Desert House by Richard Neutra, and everything, like in Lizzo's song that we hear over this, is pink! Specifically the shade of Pantone 219, and they used so much of that shade while building these sets that it resulted in an international shortage of it. And thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Here at New Rockstars, we like to figure out what makes movies work, go frame by frame to figure out what's really going on, but when we need insight on what's really going on with ourselves, we use BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, just answer a few questions about what you're looking for from therapy and what your preferences are. BetterHelp will then match you with a therapist from their network that's right for you. After that, talk to your your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. BetterHelp gives you the same level of professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/newrockstars. That's BETTERHELP.com/newrockstars for 10% off your first month of therapy. As Barbie begins her day, I love how Lizzo's lyrics are commenting on her in real time, even cramming in some words to fit in the rhythm. Hey Barbie, I like your style. Even if that were really a mirror, you'd see a perfect smile. Later, Lizzo spells out the word pink. P, pretty. I, intelligent. N, never sad. K, cool. And I love that she doesn't say K, Ken, because Barbie doesn't need Ken, so she'd just rather misspell cool. There's no water coming from Barbie's shower head or liquid in the milk carton that she drinks from, which would be the case in a girl's tea party, but also it's kind of just creepy to see Margot Robbie act this out, like Scorsese's shot in Shutter Island when that woman takes a sip from the water glass, but there's nothing in her hand. Ugh. Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie pull off something really impressive here though. Barbie catches this plastic waffle and plastic butter on her plate. I thought the waffle might have been VFX, but as you watch it throughout the scene, it stays on the plate and it looks real. I think she caught it practically like Toby with his lunch tray in Spider-Man, using magnets and stuff. Also in the background, Barbie's neighbor's waffle pops out at the exact same time hers does. Barbie floats down from a roof, no stairs necessary because kids would just kind of lift the doll off the roof, and her dress billows up, an homage to Marilyn Monroe in the 7-Year Itch. Margot Robbie also paid homage to Monroe in Birds of Prey when Harley Quinn reenacted Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Jess pointed out how behind her, inside her house, is hanging a Jackie O style business suit, which could make this kind of like that knowingly problematic Mad Men bit where they said that all women are either a Jackie or a Marilyn. Now, Barbie obviously shattered that BS dichotomy throughout the 60s and 70s, but it's just interesting how both this movie and Mad Men brought it up to show the evolution of American marketing. Emerald Fennell plays Midge. Now, Midge was introduced back in the 60s as Barbie's best friend, but her pregnancy here is a nod to the Happy Family doll from 2003, a pregnant doll that was quickly pulled from the shelves. She's nearby a life-size purple Chelsea doll treehouse. We meet the others in Barbie's world. Issa Rae plays President Barbie. Nobel Prizes are handed off to Alexandra Shipp, who plays Writer Barbie. Emma Mackey, who plays Physicist Barbie. Sharon Rooney plays Lawyer Barbie, arguing before an all-female Barbie Supreme Court, including Judge Barbie, played by Anna Cruz Kane. Dua Lipa cameos in this movie as the Mermaid Barbies. Ritu Arya plays the Reporter Barbie. Nicola Coughlan plays Diplomat Barbie. Hari Neff plays Dr. Barbie, who drives an open-up ambulance, which is pretty much a recreation of the Barbie Care Clinic vehicle. Barbie drives around through Barbie Land, and we see BAX instead of LAX, a pink Statue of Liberty, a pink Capitol Dome, a pink house instead of a White House, and a Barbie Mount Rushmore. In the cinema she drives past plays The Wizard of Oz, where there are various posters of the characters from the movie. Notice how Barbie wears pink gingham, like Dorothy Gale's blue gingham, and the road out of Barbie Land is a pink brick road. As this plot follows the story of The Wizard of Oz, Barbie is really the dreamer Dorothy who journeys into a magical world. I guess that would make Ken her Toto, or maybe the Tin Man who just wants a heart. Either way, I think the Wizard is Will Ferrell's Mattel CEO, and I guess that would make Ruth Handler Glinda the Good Witch. Barbie also drives past the Candy store, i.e. a play off, candy, but candy spelled i.e. is also one of the pups from the Barbie collection. To the beach! There are nods to Barbie toys. The umbrellas resemble the ones from Barbie's glam pool. You can see an ice cream shop that really does look like the Barbie soda shop from back in the day, mixed with the Barbie's ice cream truck set. The sand on the beach is pink plastic. The water, of course, plastic too. The flags do not move in the wind. Barbie does not leave footprints. And remember, Barbie earlier walked across the plastic water of her pool. So yes, she's Jesus. The beach attire on Barbie has the style of the sun and beach Barbie from the late 90s. That Barbie sports a seashell necklace like the one she is wearing here. And we meet the men. Ryan Gosling plays Ken, who's obsessed with Barbie and only has a good day when she looks at him. Kingsley Benadir plays Ken number 1, who's Ken's best friend. Simu Liu plays Ken number 2, Ken's rival. Scott Evans and Nkuti Gatwa play 2 more Kens. John Cena later cameos as a Ken maid. And Michael Cera plays Alan. Alan was introduced in 1964 as Ken's buddy, wearing these exact clothes. He originally went on to marry Midge, but that's not the case with the Alan in this movie. The idea of Alan was that he was supposed to be Ken's size and then the two could share clothes. Haha. So he's just deeply worried when Ken tries to surf. We get a dolly zoom on Alan, just like Steven Spielberg's dolly zoom on Brody when he was on the beach in Jaws. And yes, the Kens have some unfortunate phrasing with the word beach.
Anyone who wants to beach him off has to beach me off first.
I will beach both of you off at the same time.
But you don't even know how to beach yourself off. How are you going to beach both of us off?
I
It
know how
doesn't
to-
make sense.
Ken? Why are you getting emotional?
You're going to beach both of us off?
Nobody's gonna beach anyone off.
I love how when Simu Ken threatens to beach them both off, we cut back to Alan staring intently. I mean, Now, as Ken gets checked up in Dr. Barbie's fold-out ambulance care vehicle, he addresses the common misconception that Ken is a lifeguard, and that really his profession is just beach. Barbie holds a big house party with a rotating circular dance floor, since time for all of them is a flat circle, where the days reset at the top like a narrative loop in Westworld. What skips that loop, though, is Barbie in the middle of this dance floor asking,
"Do you guys ever think about dying?"
And literally the whole structure of the movie now skips like a scratch in the record. During this party, Alan dances on his own rhythm, showing that he's not exactly a Ken like the others. Greta Gerwig conceived this movie to be like the classic Technicolor musicals, like The Red Shoes and The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, saying they all have a high level of what we came to call authentic artificiality. You have a painted sky and a soundstage, which is an illusion, but it's also really there. The painted backdrop is really there. The tangibility of the artifice is something that we kept going back to. Now notice how all the Kens wear these white jumpsuits with Ks, all of them in a line. And I don't know about you, but whenever you got 3 Ks in a row in white clothes, that's a whoa. Because yeah, these Kens, when they get together and connect, they're pretty problematic. I also noticed, and this might just be me watching Love is Blind with my wife, they're all drinking out of these gold wine cups, which when my wife and I watch Love and Blind, I'm like, why are they always drinking out of these gold cups? And she had to explain to me that the editors and producers of the show did this so that they could easily reassemble scenes as the booze line went up and down in the glasses, because the beautiful fools of this show are forced to drink and fight and drink some more just for our merriment. So Barbie turns down Ken from staying the night so that they can have a girls' night, and they say, President Barbie's here. And President Barbie's like, I am, you're welcome. Which, I don't know, kind of feels like a nod to my favorite Beyonce clip.
You are Beyonce.
And as Ken walks off, he continues doing that shimmy thrust that he did with Barbie's hips earlier. But after her existential dread, the next morning, Barbie sleeps in, and her morning routine is just off. She reacts to cold, invisible water, her waffle is burnt, and then she falls with a thud off the roof, like a doll being dropped by a girl who has lost interest in her. And notice how Lizzo's lyrics here are now P, panic, I, I'm scared, N, nauseous, K, death. Whereas before, when Barbie stepped out of her heels, her feet would stay pointed, now her feet go flat. Dr. Barbie screams, flat feet! This idea of going from pointed feet to flat feet, I just think is important symbolism for the character, as even though flat feet would be more comfortable, a more grounded pose, it's just still awkward and disoriented for this Barbie who has had to be an object. And so she must visit Weird Barbie, Kate McKinnon, the Barbie who's been played with too much so that her face has been colored on and her hair has been cut awkwardly, and she's always doing the splits. Actually, in the quick flashback, we see the girl who did this to her, and in this play for it, you can see the name on the pole, Gloria, Gloria. This is Gloria, this is America Ferrera as a child. The same girl who played with stereotypical Barbie as an adult is the one who made Weird Barbie weird. She is really the focal dreamer of the story that the Barbies of Barbie Land live inside the imagination of. Also, Weird Barbie has a potty pup that drops little plastic poops, like the one from the Barbie Walkin' Potty Pup set. So Weird Barbie, whose name reminds me of the Weird Sisters, the prophetic witches of Macbeth, explains the logic of this world. Or rather, doesn't explain the logic of it. She says there's no actual portal or rift, there's just this tedious path of vehicles one would have to take to the real world to find the girl playing with her and fix what's wrong with her. That is Barbie's quest in this movie. And yes, Weird Barbie pays homage to The Matrix with a red pill versus blue pill choice, the heels or the Birkenstock. Return to the simulation or go to the real world. Barbie chooses blue pill option right away without hesitation. And notice how behind Barbie is Weird Barbie's world map, which is intentionally wrong and inaccurate. You can see on the map, Australia is written upside down as it's in the southern hemisphere. England has a crown on it. But this map got the film into some trouble. Movies banned in Vietnam, and they got requests to blur this map from the Philippines, as this map allegedly shows the 9-dash line, which is a maritime border running through the South China Sea and is currently a disputed region claimed by China, a claim not recognized by Vietnam, the Philippines, and other countries. In response, Warner Brothers said that this image was meant to be a childlike crayon drawing. Weird Barbie even calls us out by saying she's headed to the state of Los Angeles in the country of California. And yeah, LA does have its own weirdly complex city versus county jurisdictional system, and California is large enough to have on its own the 5th largest economy in the world. The other Barbies throw a goodbye party with a really long banner that reads, "Bon voyage to reality and good luck restoring the membrane between our world and theirs so you don't get cellulite, woo!" As Barbie departs Barbie Land, in the desert is a Warner Brothers water tower, you know, like the one that the Animaniacs live in. Now, as she drives, she sings the Indigo Girls' Closer to Fine, which really becomes the Barbie's therapeutic sing-along song in this movie. Meanwhile, the Kens sing Matchbox 20's Push. I wanna push you around, well, I will, which a song that came under criticism in the late 90s when feminist groups claimed it was about abusing women. Rob Thomas claimed the man in the song is the one being abused, but yeah, the lyrics of the song are not great. Like in another Will Ferrell movie, Elf, we get a storybook travel montage. By car, by boat, on a space rocket, on a tandem bike through Holland, camping, snowmobile, and eventually rollerblading in Venice Beach. Notice how in space, Barbie wears wears the spacesuit with brown gloves and boots from the 60s My Favorite Career Barbie set. Now later, when Ken returns to Barbie Land, notice how even alone through each of these travel steps, he still takes the same position he did before, like he hangs off the back of the rocket even though no one's sitting on the front of it, and he sits in the back of the boat still afraid of the seagulls. And yes, the seagulls, the balloons, the planets in this travel montage, they're all held up by strings. Now, rollerblading in the real world, the first thing they notice is how much the people in Venice sexualize them right away. Both of them. Barbie gets assaulted, and both Barbie and Ken get arrested. Ken's placard reads, "And Ken," because his arc in this movie is that he's always been and Ken. He's always been a side piece. He's going from and Ken to just Ken. They get new cowboy and cowgirl outfits, and they get arrested again. And they head to Century City, which Ken later idolizes as some kind of enlightened utopia. Everyone in LA knows that Century City is really just a steel and concrete dead zone for corporate decision making, best known as the skyscraper that serves as Nakatomi Plaza in Die Hard. Yeah, man. As Ken takes in the bros at the gym, notice how the music resamples the theme from 2001: A Space Odyssey, making this really the dawn of Ken. Meanwhile, Barbie sits on a park bench beside an older woman. This is actually a cameo by Anne Roth, an Academy Award-winning costume designer who worked with Greta Gerwig in the film White Noise. We head to the Mattel HQ, where right away we see America Ferrera as Gloria, drawing some really impressive Barbie concept art. We meet Will Ferrell as the Mattel CEO, reminding us of how he played the evil CEO, aka the dad in the Lego movie. Outside the window of the skyscraper, you can see a Warner Brothers Discovery building. Boo. But beyond that, you can see snow-capped mountains. Now, I'm sorry, I have to point this out. I lived in LA for 12 years, and while the LA basin is surrounded by the north and the east by mountain ranges, and that on a very clear day in winter and spring, you might be able to see some snow caps, you can almost never see these mountains this clearly from Century City, from downtown LA, or from Mattel's actual corporate headquarters in El Segundo. So really, the most confusing part of this movie to me is why Will Ferrell and his goons act so cartoonish like they're in Barbie Land 2, when Gloria and her daughter act grounded and normal. I guess it's just that the Mattel building is presented as a kind of magical zone, where Barbie briefly meets Ruth Handler, inventor of Barbie, a ghost on the 17th floor of this building, played by Rhea Perlman, wearing Handler's signature blue top and white necklace that she's often photographed wearing. When she returns later, she makes a reference to her income tax evasion crimes, which really were issues that Ruth Handler went through. Barbie returns to Barbie Land with Gloria and Sasha and sees that Ken has transformed it into Kendom. Horses are now on Mount Rushmore, all the Barbies are serving Kens. Alan joins forces with the non-brainwashed Barbies, and he drops that the members of NSYNC were apparently all Alans, which I guess is kind of a compliment based off this movie. They regroup at Weird Barbie's house, where we see the Sugar Daddy Ken and the Magic Ken. There actually was a really weird Palm Beach Sugar Daddy Ken with a tiny dog from 2009. Meanwhile, in 1993, there was an earring Magic Ken who was recognized as something of a gay symbol based off of which ear the earring was in, and a necklace that people joked looked like a ring. We also meet a Barbie with a TV in her back and a Skipper whose breasts inflate, and there really was a pretty messed up growing up Skipper doll from 1975 that did this. Yikes. So Gloria gets a super cathartic monologue in the scene discussing the impossible standards of being a woman, and you can tell Greta Gerwig was just unleashing in the scene, and I really love it because each impossible standard that she mentions, you can imagine forming one of the Barbies that we've met in Barbie Land in this movie. Weird Barbie also drops a great line in the scene, quote, "Either you're brainwashed or you're ugly, there is no in between." And I'm just singling out this line because like Luthen Rael's monologue in Andor, or the line, "What is grief if not love persevering" in WandaVision, it's just the kind of great quotable writing you know will get quoted in the future. And no, AI cannot write this. For that matter, digital scans cannot replicate what Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, and the entire cast did in this movie. Also, we cannot forget my favorite line in this movie, when Barbie sobs, "I'm not stereotypically Barbie pretty." And Helen Mirren, without missing a beat, drops in to say, "Note to filmmaker, Margot Robbie is the wrong person to cast if you want to make this point." And it's the kind of joke that you hear Ron Howard's narrator make in Arrested Development. And it's one of my favorite examples of what's called hanging a lantern in screenwriting. It's a term for when you acknowledge the ridiculousness of the moment with a quick joke and get back out. And really, it's just the timing of it that is perfect. So the Barbies plot to awaken each Barbie from their brainwashing by distracting each Ken with the vapid girlfriend tropes that guys like watching The Godfather and talking all the way through it, or taking off glasses and be the first to discover her inner beauty. This operation successfully turns the Kens against each other, and they go to war in a D-Day style beach invasion. Meanwhile, the Barbies vote on fixing the Constitution. And we end with Barbie rejoining Ruth Handler in a void, a scene similar to Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, asking what's for her, and Glinda the Good Witch takes her aside to cast a spell over her. Ruth explains people make up things like patriarchy in Barbie just to deal with how uncomfortable it is. And Barbie says, "I want to be a part of the people that make meaning, not the thing that's made. I want to do the imagining. I don't want to be the idea." And you just have to imagine Greta Gerwig here, an award-winning actress and writer, wanting to be more than just an object on screen, but a writer-director behind the scenes, wanting to be in the position of power to imagine the ways to express these complex thoughts. And Ruth tells her that her name Barbie Barbie comes from her daughter Barbara and says, "We mothers stand still so that our daughters can look back to see how far they've come." Now look, I'm a guy, I'm somewhere between a Ken and an Alan, but when I hear this line, I imagine my wife with her mom. I imagine my mom with my sisters. I imagine every woman I know in my life who's a mother or a daughter. I think I figured it out. Glinda the Good Witch is the mom that Dorothy thought she needed, pointing her back home to the Aunt Em that she always had. And please, for the love of God, watch Diana Ross singing Home in The Wiz, because there truly is no place like it. For Barbie, she literally is the dream of the girl who dreamt her up. Her spiritual mother is Gloria, and that's the home she returns to in this movie, flat-footed in Birkenstocks, getting her first gynecologist appointment. And we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching New Rockstars, and I'll see you next time. Bye.